Hello everyone, today we are demonstrating two different designs on a cupcake. So the first one is a rose, which is done with the Wilton 1M tip from this kit I bought at Walmart for about $5. And then the second demonstration is using a Ziploc bag where I cut off the end of a tip on the Ziploc bag, and then you sort of squeeze it to make a design on your cupcake. And then I bought sprinkles to decorate the cupcakes with. So first off, let's talk a bit about how we did this. So we have a box cake mix here. I got this at Walmart too. It was like 3 for $5, or sometimes I see it 2 for $5. And I find store-bought cake mixes fluffier than homemade ones. So for some reason, homemade cakes are always going to be a little bit denser. So this box makes about 24 cupcakes, which is quite a bit. There's also smaller boxes that make 6. So it depends how many you want to make. And to make the cake mix taste a little bit better, you can add an extra egg, and you can also substitute butter for the vegetable oil, as they recommend on the box. So just follow the instructions. We're not going to show you how to make the cupcake in this video. We'll just start with making the icing and decorating. And here I have store-bought icing. I don't recommend using the whipped one. I found I had to add a bit more cornstarch to it than the normal icing, so but it worked out. Basically, commercial icing is a little bit goopy, so it's fine if you're doing like a carrot cake and you're slathering it. But if you're trying to do design work with icing, then I recommend adding either cornstarch, as I have here, or icing sugar. Basically, you're adding more powder to it to make it stiffer so that you can use it to decorate. So I don't like things very sweet, which is why I like cornstarch. But you can also add icing sugar, and then if you find it too sweet, balance it with a bit of salt. And then here I also have some food coloring because we are making fuchsia pink cupcakes. Now, the interesting thing about the food coloring is if you make it a day ahead or 2 days ahead, the icing color will deepen over time. So I've used this trick when I'm trying to make really dark reds, really dark greens for Christmas, because otherwise it'll end up looking much lighter than you want. So it depends what color you're making. And then sprinkles, I mean, if you have some lying at home, I mean, it's a good way to just sort of decorate cupcakes and decorate other things, decorate cakes. And then I have a pair of scissors here for cutting off the tips. So the piping bags in the kit, as well as the Ziploc bags, you need to cut it so that you could squeeze the icing through those vessels when you start decorating your cupcakes. Okay, let's get started. We're going to go over how to thicken up this store-bought icing and how to decorate. All right, everyone, we're going to prepare the icing. Usually I like to make my own icing, make my own buttercream icing with butter. But since butter is so expensive, and I did have some Betty Crocker icing on hand, I thought I'll just use that instead. So this is Betty Crocker icing that you can get anywhere. They're pretty cheap compared to butter, because butter is like $5 now, and this is $2.50. However, I put the icing in the bowl. You can see it's very goopy, so it's very hard to pipe and make really nice cupcakes with. I mean, when you spread it, it's just going to be clumpy. So I have cornstarch here. This is about 1/4 cup, and it's sifted. So I'm just going to add that to buttercream. If you don't like cornstarch, some people like to add a bit of icing sugar, but because I don't want things to be so sweet, I like to add cornstarch. And this will make the icing a little bit stiffer so that you can manipulate it more easily when you put it in the piping bag. I'm just trying to mix it well. So I can see already the icing is not as sticky and goopy as it was before. And starting to feel a little bit like the usual buttercream that I make. Feels a little bit more stiffer as you mix in the powder. This is a muscle workout. Now I think because this is the whipped vanilla instead of the normal Betty Crocker icing, it's still a little bit goopy. So I'm gonna pause the video for a minute to get a little bit more cornstarch. Okay, I'm back with, this is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Dump that in. I think if you use the regular icing, you don't have to put as much cornstarch, but I picked up the wrong icing. The whipped stuff is a bit more airy. Okay. Now some people like to use icing sugar, like I said. I don't like things that sweet, so I'd rather use cornstarch instead. Okay, because we are doing heart-shaped Valentine's Day things and roses, I have here a food coloring that I'm going to use. You're going to keep mixing until the icing is a bit stiff. So when you lift it up, it sort of the shape sort of stays a little bit, so it won't fall apart. Now, you might add more cornstarch or more icing sugar depending on the type and brand of the commercial icing sugar you use. If you use a normal buttercream recipe, like the recipe will tell you how much butter and sugar to add, and usually it's fine. But if you want it stiffer, just add more cornstarch or add some of this icing sugar. Okay, now we're going to dye the icing. So I have a Chef Master liquid gel food coloring. So these are very nice for icing because the colors are very bright. It's an American brand. There's tons of other brands, like Wilton has some. If you want natural dyes, there's also that available. So I have to say these ones that are more liquidy are good for icing. If you're working for fondant, you would want more gel, more solid food coloring. But anyhow, but we're working with icing, so this is okay. So we're just going to add a little bit. 1 drop, 2 drop. Oh, okay. There we go. And all you do is sort of mix it in. Whoa, this is a bit dark. But as you mix it in, the color will lighten. And of course, if you don't think you have enough food coloring, just add more in. Oh, this is giving my arm a bit of a workout. So just keep stirring until the color looks uniform. Or if you want a marbled look, you can keep some of the white color in, that's fine too. Then when you squirt it out of the icing bag or the Ziploc bag, it's going to have 2 colors. But I will try to get it as uniform as possible. Okay, looks good. Now I'm going to grab my icing bag and we'll go over how to put the tips on. Okay, the first cupcake we're going to do is the rose cupcake. To make the rose cupcake, we need a certain tip. So this is a set I bought from Walmart, which is a cupcake decorating set. It has a few basic tips. It has 4 tips here. And a Wilton is a brand that's used by a lot of bakers. So when you talk about what you're making, they often talk about the tip numbers. So to make the rose cake, we are going to use the 1M tip. So when you look on this tip, it tells you, it has a number on it that says 1M. When you look at it, it sort of looks like a star. So when you squeeze the icing out of it, it takes on this shape. Now this kit is really nice because it also comes with these things called piping bags. So this is what you put your icing in, your tip in, so when you squeeze it, it will come out a certain shape. Now, unfortunately, this kit doesn't have this thing, which is called a icing elastic or icing band. So you put it on to help you squeeze the icing. So I'll demonstrate this in a minute. Now, I have a glass cup here, and this is to hold the icing bag while you put the icing stuff in. So let's put the tip on first. So I am taking an icing bag out. And the icing bag is a big triangle, pretty much. Okay. Now, smaller icing tips, you'll need something called a coupler, but because these are gigantic icing tips, all you do is open this bag up, put your tip in. Okay, so you put your tip in. Now, these bags all come closed, right? So you're going to have to cut it so that the cream can make it through. But first you put your tip in to estimate how much you have to cut. So I'll probably cut around here. So I have a pair of scissors. I'll move the icing tip back so I can cut up that part. And then squeeze it all the way down. Okay, so this will hold in place because the icing tip, this part is bigger than the bag, right? If you cut it too much, it's going to come flying out. Then you'll just have to get another icing bag. So we're going to flip open the top. Okay, I'm going to put the tip into the cup first. I'm going to flip this open so that we can put the icing in. The cup just sort of helps hold the bag up, right? So that, you know, when you're putting in the icing, if this is upright, I mean, you can buy special holders too, but I mean, you don't really need to. So we're going to grab some icing and dump it in. It feels very squishy because it is icing. Now I have to say that I do like my buttercream icing better than this store-bought stuff, only because it's more predictable and not as sticky. I don't know why this commercial stuff is so sticky. Maybe it's because of the preservatives. I don't know. But real buttercream that you make from butter is, I don't know. I don't find it as sticky. So, okay. Now, in my bowl, I still have some left over. But because we're going to do a second cupcake with a Ziploc bag technique, we will just close this up. So I'm going to squeeze it down because there will be an air pocket at the bottom. So you're going to sort of squeeze everything down. Squeeze. Now in the cupcake instructions, it says all you have to do is sort of twist the top. So that's one way, twist the top and then start, you know, icing. But I really love these things called icing. They're icing bags. Anyhow, so this is like a, you might think it looks like an elastic band, but basically what you're going to fold it, you're going to wrap it around the top, and it's going to stretch. And you sort of take this part and wrap it around the part that looks like sort of an arrow. And then it sort of snaps in place. And what this does is it'll hold it in place as you start using the icing. So right now on the top it's air, so we're gonna move the band down. This is it's a very thick plastic icing bag. Okay. So as you keep using the icing, you'll move the bag down, and this sort of keeps the pressure in the icing bag for you, okay? So our icing bag is ready. So let's grab our cupcakes. Okay, so I have these pre-cooked cupcakes. They don't look that great on the top, so good we have icing. So we'll grab one, and we're going to start from the center. Okay, so we'll start from the center and sort of do a circle, and that will make our rose, okay? And you just squeeze as you go, and then lift up at the end. There you go, our rose cupcake. So let's do another one. I'm just sort of cleaning the tip before I start. Sort of went all gunky at the end there. Okay, we have our cupcake. Start in the middle. Do a circle. And then lift up. So it has these edges because of the tip, right? So when you squeeze it, the metal forms the edges on the cream. And this is a lovely cupcake. You could do it in different colors. Last winter I did some in red for Christmas, and then I put sprinkles on it. So I don't know, it's one of my favorite cupcakes. One of my favorite tips is to make the rose cupcake. Very pretty, eh? Now let's move on to just using a Ziploc bag to make a simple cupcake with a heart shape and other decorations. Now, not everyone would want to buy icing tips, so this is another way to decorate a cupcake using a Ziploc bag. So I'm going to open up the bag, and we are going to put some icing in here. And basically squeeze it out. So we're sort of using the Ziploc bag as a icing bag, but the icing bag is much better. I think it's worth the investment. That whole kit from Walmart was about $5 with the piping bags. Okay, so I have icing in a Ziploc bag. I'm going to pick one corner and we'll squeeze it all towards one corner. So we're sort of mimicking the piping bag, which is a triangular shape, except we are using an icing bag. Now, we're going to cut the icing bag, but we don't have a tip in it, so it's not going to give us any fancy shapes like the rose. It's just going to be a line. So think about, so it's sort of like a pencil. So where are you going to draw on your cupcake? So I am going to cut the tip off, and then, so when I squeeze, the icing is going to come out. But, okay, so we'll grab a cupcake. And I think I'm going to try to draw a heart with this. So it's all in your hand muscles. So we will draw a heart. It's okay, it's not perfect because I'm going to put sprinkles on it. So even if it looks kind of weird. So, okay. So tease the icing around. Okay, that does not look good. Anyhow, so here we go. This is a heart. And now I'm going to dump some icing on it. So I have some little sprinkles left over from another baking thing. So I have a plate here. Let me have a plate here. It's going to get messy. So I can just put some on top to sort of cover the lumpiness of the icing. Here we go. Now, if you're really good at squeezing out the icing, you could probably draw a flower or the shape of a bird. It just depends on how good your hand technique is. It takes time, but okay. So this sort of looks like this. Now, personally, to me, the rose was easier than drawing this. But again, you don't have to buy anything as long as you have Ziploc bags and some sprinkles. So let me grab another sprinkle and we'll try with different types of sprinkles. Okay, so I have these golden sprinkles from President's Choice. They were on sale. They weren't expired yet. I don't know why they were on sale. I'll just open up the sugar. We're going to use the sugar and put it on a plate. I'm going to try to concentrate it on one side, because what we're going to do is put icing on the cupcake and then dip it in the sugar. So ideally, I guess you should have a lot of sugar to cover it. Okay, so let's grab another cupcake. This time, let's try to make a flower, I guess. Okay, and then we're going to turn the cupcake over and dip it in the plate, and it will pick up the sugar. So this is one way of decorating the cupcakes. So let me know if you have any questions. You can always email me, find me online, and yeah. So these are the 4 cupcakes we just made. If you have any questions or have any more decorating tips on how to use the Ziploc bag, which I'm not very good at, please send me an email or find me on social media. Have a good day. Bye.